Good morning. This is World University and Schools Live Hangout on Air on Monday, June 3rd, 2019. And I'm Scott McLeod. It's 10 a.m. Pacific time in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I think it's 6 p.m. in Central European time. So 2 people joined us last week, and I'm hoping more will join us this week. Announcements for these are posted to Twitter, twitter.com/WORLD UNIVANDSCH. And as we wait to see if people will join us with your questions, your ideas, your suggestions, I just want to touch on briefly the possibility of World University and School seeking potential collaboration with Stanford, mentorship even, having just emailed John Hennessy, the former president of Stanford and a professor there and now the chair of Google and Alphabet, yesterday afternoon. I'd like to touch on some of these questions with regard to how mentoring would work, potentially from John himself, but also possibly with even a kind of team that might emerge, a mentoring program potentially out of Stanford in more ways than I'll elaborate on today, I hope. So as World University and School, and this news and updates as well, seeks to accredit with the state of, or license with the state of California's BPPE, we're currently working on the relationship and even organizational flow chart between faculty and administrators, so that in the licensing process we lay out how these two institutional entities will interact, and also in the context of the state of California. So that's the first news item as World University and School continues with the licensing process. Secondly, since the $250,000 National Science Foundation grant that WUaS applied for more than a year ago and thought that World University and School had gotten, but then was told that we hadn't gotten, hasn't come through, and yet is a question. I'm curious whether mentoring from John Hennessy might facilitate this National Science Foundation grant further. World University and School continues to get grants.gov password updates. So hoping that the monies we had budgeted in the National Science Foundation grant to pay the BPPE fees will come through so that we can accredit for bachelor and PhD degrees in English, and beginning soon. And this would lead then to probably accreditation with WUaS Senior, and also to hiring graduate student instructors, hopefully Stanford graduate students, as well as potentially MIT graduate students, to teach sections to the CC4 MIT OpenCourseWare faculty video in their courses in something like Google Group Video Hangouts and Google Education, and World University and Schools in Google Education. So as we proceed with that, One other approach besides Google Group Video Hangouts for sections or as classrooms with MIT OpenCourseWare courses and the video from the faculty in those courses as a kind of pedagogical model, a sort of online teaching model. Another approach that World University and School will seek to develop for sort of online classrooms would emerge out of the Harvard Law professor Charles Nesson's Jury X course, which I took a few years ago, and which offers another model of synchronous, so real-time, face-to-face, potentially communication, or synchronous can also be real-time email, text chat, and asynchronous. So people can carry on a learning conversation asynchronously in this Jury X threads approach. Threads are like conversation threads where people can add a sort of share an idea in relation to a question or a topic at different times asynchronously. So both this Jury X course facilitates conversation in group video too. So Charlie Nesson had posted some videos about the jury process and the history of juries in this course, Jury X. And there potentially was an option to come into conversation in real time, for example, in Google Group Video Hangouts or Zoom Hangouts, Zoom video. And also not only person-to-person, voice-to-voice, face-to-face in group video, but also in group text. So all of that's a sort of second potential approach that would also facilitate students learning from homes, leading busy lives otherwise. So the asynchronous aspect would allow students to engage with the course material in conversation when they weren't at in a group video, for example, when they couldn't be for schedule reasons or whatever. So that's another piece of news as we continue the BPPE licensing. I hope to post this letter I sent to John Hennessy today in my blog post, and we'll link that below this video. Another approach, pedagogical approach, would be more oriented in the material science wiki subject page at World University and School wiki subject pages on the subjects page is an interesting example. John Hennessy is a material scientist, and on this material science wiki subject page, there are a number of MIT OpenCourseWare courses that students will be able to take on their own and potentially at their own pace for eventually credit, potentially when World University and School also develops them for this, making them perhaps more accessible for engagement in a class, in a course-like context. It could lead to feedback, that could lead to possible conversation with either instructors, for example, graduate student instructors from Stanford or MIT, or even eventually avatar bots, and with something like personalized learning, possibly even eventually robots in the home that we make with Legos that could become instructors for a materials science course from MIT, for example. That would be interesting. So those three pedagogical approaches are what World University and School would like to hire graduate student instructors for. So in Google Group Video Hangouts, teaching sections in the MIT OpenCourseWare course. Secondly, the sort of threads approach in Harvard Law, Professor Charles Nessen's Jury X course, allowing for synchronous and asynchronous conversation in group video classrooms. And thirdly, more independent study, sort of take a single materials science course from MIT on your own in an independent study format and have ways for feedback and conversation in graduate student instructor or an avatar bot, something like that. I think those are the main items I'd like to touch on today, since people haven't joined us. Thank you to Tanya and Fritz for joining us last Monday. And looking forward to holding, I think, the next WUaS Live Hangout on Air in 2 Mondays from now, which should be Monday, June 17th. So no live Hangout on Air this upcoming Monday. So thank you for watching this, and World University and School, as we seek to license with the state of California, is exploring beginning this autumn or as soon as the licensing process goes through, and seeking potentially 500 students, undergraduates, online in English, from California, from the US, and potentially from any of all 200 countries for free to students 4-year bachelor degree that would be accessible online and which would also be licensed and eventually accredited. So to stay tuned with World University and School's Twitter feed, go to twitter.com/WORLDUNIVANDSCH. And the YouTube channel is similar, youtube.com/WORLDUNIVANDSCH. Thank you. info@worlduniversityandschool.org for questions, information, idea sharing, and that's also the website address, worlduniversityandschool.org, WORLDUNIVERSITYANDSCHOOL.org. Thank you, and see you next time.